questions now about what happened in Benghazi and the role then Deputy CIA Director Michael Morrell played in crafting the talking points. Washington Times reports the CIA station chief in Libya told Morrell no demonstration took place on September 11th. Now, that was a full day before Susan Rice went on 5 Sunday shows to say protest led to the deadly attacks. And now the question is, did Morrell or anyone else tell the president about this report? John Bolton's a former U.S. ambassador to the UN, Fox News contributor. How are you, sir? And good day to you.
Good morning, Bill.
Is this the hearing we've been waiting for?
Well, it could be. It depends on whether members of Congress bear down in their questioning. I think this report that the CIA station chief said unequivocally that there was no demonstration is very important. This is the CIA's top guy in Libya, looking at all the information available to him, testimony by CIA employees, by State Department employees, from whatever local sources he's got, from the media, you name it. And his judgment, the guy on the ground, is no demonstration. And that gets ignored. What's the answer for that?
Okay, so the station chief writes Morrell and says there's no evidence of any of these street protests. And that was, I guess, maybe the Thursday or the Friday of that week. It was at least no later than Saturday before Susan Rice went on the Sunday programs and said what they said. Who does the station chief report to in Washington?
Well, he reports back up through the CIA bureaucracy, but it's not just the paper trail here. There's no doubt in my mind that whether on secure phones or open phones, State Department and CIA and probably military personnel in Libya were talking to their counterparts back in Washington. The only people who thought that the attack on the consulate came from this Mohammed video were people back in Washington. And the argument is, at least the argument they've deployed before, well, you know, there were multiple streams of information. And when asked before what multiple streams of information, it turns out to be North African or other Middle Eastern newspapers. So the conflict here is between the CIA station chief in Benghazi on the scene talking to Americans versus North African and Middle East news stories. I mean, who are you going to believe?
Okay, now, did Morrell share this assessment with the White House? Did he share the assessment with the State Department?
Not clear, and I think those are key questions. I think the CIA made a real mistake here in getting involved in drafting these talking points to begin with. And I think what the questioning should show is that Morrell was trying to please his masters in the White House, not surprising given his employment relationships after he left the CIA.
Well, in the Washington Times story, and perhaps in other places, apparently another intelligence official said that Morrell told the White House and informed the State Department. If you can prove that, that would be a strong indictment, would it not?
Yeah, well, whether it's Morrell or somebody else, I think what happened here is that the reality of what happened on September the 11th came into conflict with the administration's ideology, the ideology that the war on terror is over, that al-Qaeda's on the run, that Osama bin Laden's dead. What problem? And they didn't accept the reality, and that's where the story of the Mohammed video won out.
Yeah,
that's what the members of Congress have to focus on.
Okay, and perhaps they will when that hearing begins tomorrow again. But the CIA drafted these talking points for what? Members of the administration to talk about it? I mean, does it usually happen that way?
Absolutely not. And the reports are that members of Congress asked David Petraeus, the new CIA director, to create these talking points. New guy, made a mistake. He never should have agreed to it. The CIA role, if you want to avoid it being politicized, remember the criticisms of the Bush administration for politicizing intelligence. If you want to keep the CIA out of politics, its role should only be protecting sources and methods of intelligence gathering and pointing out when classified material is about to be revealed. Well, this is not about facts. It's always about politics.
It would seem that's a safe way to play it, especially in retrospect. Did anyone, final question, did anyone in Libya who was there during the time, be it Benghazi or Tripoli, did anyone suggest that a demonstration was to blame for what happened that night in Benghazi?
The answer to that's no. There's no evidence that any American on the ground in Benghazi or in Tripoli had any illusion that this was anything other than a terrorist attack from the get-go.
All right, hearings tomorrow. Ambassador John Bolton today, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Bill.
All right.